ready to atone for the great sin that you did by taking your life but letting your soul live on, and there's even greater sins that a person are so severe that he cannot really even they're beyond that taking it, executing the person will not atone. It's called karet. The soul is cut off, which even for that there's tshuva, but that's very, very difficult. So just to remember that point, that what happens after the sin is a different story. What happens during the sin or during the mitzvah is all the same. Every mitzvah, the smallest mitzvah and the biggest mitzvah, are ways that you connect to God. The biggest sin and the smallest sin are equally detaching you from God. So doing any mitzvah is in essence believing in God, declaring your belief in God, and doing every sin in essence is denying Hashem's existence. So that's really the end of. Now you can imagine what it means to take that divine soul that you have in you, the neshama that God gave you, which is part of God, and putting it now. Some mitzvahs have a long-lasting effect on the person. Again, the effect is different. Some mitzvahs have a short-term effect. Some mitzvahs have a long-term effect. All mitzvahs have an eternal effect. That we're going to have to talk about next week. We're already over time. But when you do the mitzvah down here in this world, it takes a minute. Some mitzvahs, an aveira, a sin, it takes a minute to do, but it has a great, very, very tremendous damage for a long time. It takes a long time to atone for it. Right? So it doesn't really matter how long you're doing the sin for, if it's a sin that took a second or a minute. If you think about what you're doing, you're taking the soul that God gave you. The soul doesn't want to sin. I'm the sinner. It's called the intelligent soul, makes the choice if to sin or not. The godly soul wants to do mitzvahs, and the animal soul wants to sin. And I choose who to listen to. Whichever direction I go, all my souls go with me. My godly soul, my animal soul. When I'm doing a mitzvah, my animal soul is being forced to join and to do a mitzvah. An animal soul will not regret it. It might not be so. Initially, it doesn't want to do it, but eventually, it's going to get rewarded. You join. The animal soul is part of me. When I do a mitzvah, all of me does the mitzvah, even the part of me that doesn't want. When I force myself to do something right, it also joins. Even the part of me that doesn't want is doing it. And it gets rewarded for that. And if it's the opposite way, I do an aveira, a sin, my godly soul is pulled after the animal soul. There's a famous medrash that tells us about Friday night, 2 angels come back from a Jew from synagogue. A good angel and a bad angel. If the Jew comes home and the table is set, the house is, Shabbos Queen was greeted properly, so the good angel says, may this happen next week again, and the bad angel is forced to say Amen, to accept. If it's the opposite, the bad angel says, may this mess greet Shabbos next week again, and the good soul, the good angel, says Amen.
Really?
He's forced. That's what it says. He's forced, and it means you need a lot more work. That's we say one sin leads to another, one mitzvah leads to another. When you do a mitzvah, it helps you do another mitzvah. It makes the next mitzvah easier. When you do the opposite, it makes the next aveira, the next sin easier. But it's not. Doesn't mean it has to happen. And it means that you can make life easier for yourself if you make the right choices in the beginning. So the same thing over here. There's me with my 2 souls, and I choose the direction. I could steer to the right or to the left. If I steer to the right, my animal soul joins against its will, but eventually it's going to thank me for it. And if it's the other way around, my godly soul is pulled. And it says, the Alter Rebbe gives us the analogy, sinning. Doesn't matter how long the sin is, it could be a moment. But think about taking the king's head, and putting him into a dirty place.
Even for a moment is no good.
Even so, it doesn't matter. So some sins do it for 3 months, some for 5 years, and some do it for a second. Small sins. But imagine you're taking God and putting him into the toilet. That's the words that the Alter Rebbe uses. Yeah, because there's nothing that could describe it adequately besides this. Maybe this is not enough. It's much more. You're taking God Almighty gave you a soul, and you're taking that soul, which is a part of Him, and pulling it after your animal soul into the garbage, into the dung. That's a sin. So it doesn't matter if it's a big sin or a small sin. You're denying God's existence. And a big sin and a small sin, we'll deal with that later. But the moment of the sin, that's what really counts. And obviously, if it's all the way around, you're taking the animal soul and pulling it up. So even if it's for a moment, the animal soul will get such great reward for this moment that it did a mitzvah. We'll learn the famous story that illustrates this point. Even there was once there was a chassid, I think of the Alter Rebbe or the Rebbe Rashab, I'm not sure. He was someone who came from Hasidic background, and he himself was a troublemaker. But he was to come hang around with his friends. He would come to the shul, to the Fabrengen, to talk, and there was an argument amongst the Hasidim. Should we tell this guy, that he's not invited until he fixes his ways? We feel that by letting him join us, we kind of approve his misdeeds. Yeah, or others said, let's try to encourage him, bring him closer. So when the Rebbe heard about this argument, I guess they asked the Rebbe what to do. He said, you don't know how much pleasure God has when a Jew does one sin less. One sin less. He's with you, he's in the shul, he's hanging around in a good environment. Doesn't matter what he's going to do when he leaves, but now, the longer you keep him with you, the better. So, and the one moment that the animal soul did something against his will, it's going to get such infinite reward. Because you do a mitzvah, it's infinite. We're going to learn about that in chapter 25, which we started. It's infinite. So we have to make sure, even one mitzvah is tremendous. How much more so we do more mitzvahs. So we have to remember that we take the animal soul and we take like an ox and you throw the yoke over it and get it to do work. The animal soul will appreciate every moment, even if it's one moment, and how much more so if it's many more moments. It's a story that once, a mashal, a parable. There was a guy who heard that there's a certain country that there's a lot of diamonds and gold on the floor. So he heard about it and he got on a ship and he collected it. And he's collecting, and people were looking at him like you're crazy. Like it was like collecting sand. Imagine someone's going around collecting sand. And he realized that over there people they do business with chicken fat. That's the currency. So slowly he said, hey, he got the he became accustomed to the currency of the country, and he collected a lot of chicken fat, and he had boatloads and boatloads of chicken fat. The year was over. It came time to go home. He comes home with chicken fat, and imagine no refrigeration. Chicken fat isn't worth so much, especially. And he comes home with a lot of chicken fat, and his wife tells him, "You went to get diamonds." He says, "Yeah, but diamonds weren't worth anything over there." And they found a few diamonds in his pocket. Because all the sacks that he collected, he just got rid of them. And he says, with these few diamonds, he was pretty good. Imagine if he would come back with all the sacks. So we take our Yetzirah and force it to do a mitzvah. It's in this world, it doesn't think mitzvahs are important, and it would rather just get rid of it. But those few diamonds that it does save, it gets rewarded greatly. So the more mitzvahs we do, the more the animal soul also will appreciate it. In the next world for sure, and especially even in this world, the animal soul likes to be structured and likes to do what's right, even though it doesn't seem that way in the beginning. But when a person lives a structured life, a disciplined life, he enjoys not only the spiritual aspect, even the physical aspect of his life. He enjoys much better. People who have a soul, someone who has a structured life, he doesn't do whatever he wants, enjoys life more than someone who does whatever he wants.
More is accomplished, no? That way.
Yeah, you accomplish more, and you get to appreciate what you do much more. So, we're having Yom Kippur's this coming week, so I want to wish everyone a Chasim, a Gemar Chasim Teva. May you be signed and inscribed for a good year, in all respects, physically and spiritually. The main thing is that Mashiach should come right now, and that will solve all the problems, spiritually and physically.
Amen.
Press stop. Any questions, comments?
What's the next topic, Levi? The next topic for next lecture.
Next topic? It's going to be how a mitzvah never gets lost.
Between the cancer and Kippur. And Kippur between the
If
cancer.
Mashiach comes this week,
It says record stuff.
Yom Kippur, the fast will be cancelled this
Is
year.
there a button
Just this
here?
year. Why, we're giving fast?
Red one?